Let's continue our conversation about the Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin. So we started talking about this idea of four pairs of Tefillin the other day. Rashi's Tefillin, Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin, Shimosher Rabbah, and Ravid Tefillin. And we mentioned that Rashi is the one that everybody wears. We talked about the fact that not Rashi's Tefillin per se. We just called Rashi's Tefillin because Rashi championed that version of the way the portions should be placed into the boxes. Okay, so we talked about that. Now we mentioned also this idea that Rashi's Tefillin, there's the body and the soul. There's the practical and then there's the mystical. So the practical is Rashi's Tefillin, are the most popular Tefillin, let's call it, or the one that everybody wears and makes a blessing on. That's the one that halacha follows. That's because that is that achieves something in the spiritual realms that is within everybody's capacity and accessible. The idea of accessing or drawing energy from the divine supernal wisdom of the level of the attribute of bina, of understanding. Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin are higher. That goes to that reaches the attribute of wisdom in chachma, the wisdom of the divine, which is higher, not as easily accessible. And then beyond that, you have the Tefillin of Shemosher Rabbah and Ravid, which are the two levels of Keser, which are even beyond intellect, divine intellect. So we see this relationship between our actions in this world and the impact that they have in the spiritual realms and the things that they achieve in the spiritual worlds and the energies of divinity that they access. Okay, so we're aware of that. Now, what's interesting is that for the longest time, Jews would wear only one pair of tefillin. You wore your Rashi's tefillin. You had communities where they would wear two pairs. But it was basically you wore the one pair of tefillin. By Hasidim, they wanted to wear the pair of Rabeinu Tam Tefillin. That's already a higher spiritual level. But to access that higher spiritual level, you had to be a little bit on a higher spiritual level yourself. So you turned bar mitzvah and you had to start wearing tefillin obviously right away. You wore your Rashi's tefillin. But then over the years, the way it worked was after, it went sort of through stages, but after, by Chassidim, after they would get married. So once you're married and you're in a heightened sense of sort of a spiritual lifestyle. So now that you're married, you start to wear Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin. That would be the case. By Chabad Chassidim, the way it would work, when you turned 18, you're already a little bit more mature. So what you would do is you'd write to the Rebbe, asking if you can start wearing Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin. Sometimes the Rebbe would say yes. On a rare occasion, he would say no. Generally, it would come with certain conditions about going to the mikvah and about different ideas of things that, different commitments that a person would have to make in order to be able to start putting on Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin. So you see that there's a certain seriousness and earnestness, a heightened devotion and dedication that was required to start wearing those tefillin. It wasn't just for everybody. In 1976, on Purim, the Rebbe spoke publicly about this concept of Rabeinu Tam's Tefillin, and he said everybody should be wearing it. And over the next several months or so, they'll be even encouraged that even bar mitzvah boys, and in Chabad, bar mitzvah, you start putting on tefillin at your bar mitzvah. In the Chabad tradition, we start wearing tefillin 2 months before our bar mitzvah to start training, so that the day of your bar mitzvah, you're ready, you know how to do it, right? Instead of figuring it out on the first day. So you have 2 months of training. So the Rebbe even went so far as to say that even a pre-bar mitzvah boy, so you see this extreme, went from an extreme where it was only certain people, and then it was after you're married, then at 18 with certain conditions. Suddenly the Rebbe opened the floodgates and said, our generation, we're going to grab whatever spirituality and holiness we can. Everybody should be wearing Rabeinu Tam Tefillin. So that's the idea of wearing 2 pairs of tefillin, which Chabad Chassidim obviously wear the 2 pairs. You see, we go after davening, we take off one, we put on the second. It's the exact same thing, but it's different. There's a Rashi's Tefillin, Rabeinu Tam Tefillin. And in the Siddur, you have printed here the order for Rabeinu Tam Tefillin. So that's on page 82, just to bring to your attention, or you noticed and wondered what was going on there. You take off your Rashi's Tefillin after davening, you put on the Rabeinu Tam Tefillin, you say the Shema again, because again, the Shema is one of the sections that's in the film, central prayer, obviously, the whole Shema. And then you say on the bottom of 83, so you have the first 3 paragraphs of Shema, page 82 and 83, that are familiar. And then you have on the bottom of 83, you have 2 sections that are the other 2 portions that are written in the Tefillin. The Parsha of Kadesh Li Kol B'chor and V'hoya Ki Yaviyacha. These 2 are here in the are read in the in Rabeinu Tam Tefillin. And then you have the 6 remembrances, which we'll get to maybe tomorrow. We'll get back to the 6 remembrances. Just one more point about the tefillin. There's also the 4 pairs of tefillin. So the way that would work, interestingly, the Rebbe actually wrote about the procedure of wearing 4 pairs of tefillin in the Hayom Yom, which is a little pocket calendar that he, with Hasidic insight, that he made for everybody, even people that don't wear it. So it's interesting. The Rebbe, by the way, himself said that he was afraid to start wearing 4 pairs of tefillin. Because we're talking about the higher. It was only because his father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, told him one day, sometime in the 1930s, he says, you're going to start wearing 4 pairs of tefillin. I'm going to buy them for you. I'm going to have them specially prepared and made for you. And, you do it sort of quietly. But the Rebbe started to wear 4 pairs. So that's already rarer that people wear 4 pairs. And the way that works is that you finish your davening in the Rashi's tefillin. You take off the head tefillin of Rashi, put on the head tefillin of Shemusha Rabbah tefillin. Then you'd say Shema and you'd say the daily Tehillim. Then you'd take off those tefillin, put on your Rabeinu Tam's tefillin. After you'd say what we just talked about here, that you say these 4 portions, and then you'd say the 6 remembrances. You take off the head tefillin of Rabeinu Tam, you put on the head tefillin of Ravid, say Shema again, say Shema on all 4 pairs, and then a section of Chumash. So that's the story with the tefillin of